Hey guys, it's Libby, and my hair was sort of expanding to the point where it could have been declared its own country, so I have contained it. I have not joined a weird religious group. So today we are going to be talking about the books that I read in January and the books that I'm planning to read in February. Now in January, I did not read a lot, which is bad news for my Goodreads goal, but good news for the me who will have to edit this video because it should be pretty short. I'm aware that my monthly wrap-ups tend to push into like the 20-minute sphere. Let's see if we can keep this one under 10. So the first two books that I read in January were both by Marie Kondo. They were The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up and Spark Joy. I did a separate review of these, so I'm not going to talk too much about them. The review will be linked down in the description, and you can also find it at the end of the video. In short, I really like these books. They are self-help books that tell you how to clean up your house, and I cleaned up my house, and now I am happier. The second book that I read was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy by Douglas Adams. This is a collection of all 5 books in the Hitchhiker's Guide series, but I only listened to the first one. I listened to it, I did not read it. I got an audiobook, and it was narrated by Stephen Fry, which was quite nice. So if for some reason you are not aware of this book series, this is sort of the sci-fi twin of the fantasy Discworld series. There are like adventures in space going on, but a lot of it is Douglas Adams' asides about, you know, human society. And I had already read this book and The Restaurant at the End of the Universe, the second book, before. I hadn't read the rest of them. And so I think at this point I can kind of remember the plot. Like, I don't want to say that it's light on plot, because there's plenty of things that happen. It just, the plot often feels so irrelevant that I don't really remember what happened. But it is very funny and very insightful, so you should read it, if not for the plot, then for the chuckles. And that is all I completed this month. 3 books. 2 of them were really short self-help books, and one of them was an audiobook. And my camera is tilted up really high, which means I have to hold the books up higher than I want, so let's fix that. Last year in January I read 14 books, which was pretty good for my read 100 books in a year goal. I'm about 6 books behind right now, but I am in the middle of 4 books, which is kind of unusually high for me, so the math kind of almost means I'm okay. The first book that I'm in the midst of reading is The Ship of Theseus by V.M. Straka, which is actually the book S by Doug Dorst and J.J. Abrams, and it is very weird. I'll do a review. I'll tell you all about it. I'm also kind of in theory working on Siege and Storm, the second book in the Grisha trilogy. When I say kind of working on, I mean I'm on page 48. I started it, and then I was getting really into S, so this one sort of got waylaid, and then I started reading my book for the Brickathon, and so this got further waylaid. So I don't know when I'm going to pick this up again. It's not bad. I don't really have the issue that a lot of readers seem to have of needing to know what happens next. I am quite content to wait months before I know how this series ends, even though, you know, it's interesting and suspenseful. And I'm also working on my Brickathon book, The Crimson Petal and the White by Michelle Faber. It is 895 pages, and I'm not quite as far in it as I would like to be, but I'm not like woefully behind. So I think I can, if I work real hard, I can do it during the Brickathon. But if I don't finish it during the Brickathon, I should be able to finish it within the next week. So close enough. And I'm also listening to the audiobook of The Restaurant at the End of the Universe. This one is narrated by Martin Freeman, who played Arthur Dent in the movies of Hitchhiker's Guide, or the one movie. There was just one. So now, looking forward to what I'm going to read in February. Obviously, I want to finish those 4 things I'm working on right now, but I also am doing something a little bit different for me. I haven't really done this before, but I have like scheduled out a TBR for each month because last year I really sucked at my goal of reading the entire Discworld series, and this year I am trying to finish the rest of the Discworld series and read 5 books by Daphne du Maurier and 5 books that are historical fiction set before 1800. So that's kind of a tall order. So I decided to like plan it out. So I have three books most months, 1 month with 4 books. That's April, where there's Dewey's 24-hour readathons. I'm hoping that will help me get through a book in 24 hours. And I think my rule is going to be I have to finish those 3 books in a month before I can read any other ones. Who knows if I will actually stick to this rule. And also, I included January in my schedule. You may notice that I did not read any books that qualify for my challenges in January. So I'm double dutying for February. So the books I was supposed to read in January are Carpe Jugulum and the We Free Men, the last book in the Witches series, and the first book in the Tiffany Aching series for the Discworld challenge. And then also Frenchman's Creek by Daphne du Maurier, which is both by Daphne du Maurier and set in Restoration London. So that's Charles II. Is that like 1630s? Maybe. It's definitely before 1800. So Frenchman's Creek is doing double duty, which means that I only had 2 books scheduled for February to meet my challenges, because I knew I was also going to be reading The Crimson Petal and the White, which takes up a bit of my reading time. So I have Wintersmith and A Hatful of Sky. Oh, that's the wrong order. Hatful of Sky, then Wintersmith, which are the next books in the Tiffany Aching series. And then if I get through all of that big if, I'd like to continue on with the series that I'm in the midst of that are not the Discworld series. So that's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Grisha Trilogy, and the Lunar Chronicles. Okay, so it took 16 minutes and 41 seconds to film this. Let's see if I can cut that down to under 10 minutes in editing.